How's everybody feeling?
Well,
Good.
Good. Glad to hear that. I think we'll get started. It's 2 o'clock. Before we move any further, I would like to introduce this young lady that's to my left. That is our new administrator in our office, Crystal Curley. Maybe she wants to say a few things about herself.
So I'm excited to join this team at the City of Utica. I come into the Section 8 Housing SUP grant, FSS grant, and I'm really eager to learn more and get to know everybody and network amongst the organizations out there. So thank you for having me today. And we really have a great team, and Jerry does great with her FSS participants and FOPs, and I'm really having big shoes to fill as Chris Pastorelli over to my left is retiring. So I'm retired. Retired, but still showing me the ropes. So I'm very grateful for that. But I look forward to working with everybody here. And if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to call the office. I'm pretty available and I will get back to you. As long as I'm not in training, I usually get back to you right away. So I'm getting through the training process. But thanks for having me, and I appreciate you guys welcoming me here.
All right, and the next bullet. Oh, anybody want to say anything?
I just said welcome. This is Deetra.
Hi, Deidre.
Hello.
I would like to thank Chris Pastorelli for the many years of her service, dedication, and support to the housing, Section 8 housing, to the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. I personally can't thank her enough for the guidance that she has given me. So right now she's, what does your mug say? She got this really cool retirement. She's in a work optional state, which someday I look forward to.
The state we all want to be in.
Yeah, someday. One of my participants, she was unable to attend. And I am most certain that she would not be hesitant in allowing me to share her story. Ms. Jessica Rett is a former Section 8 recipient. In addition to that, when I met her, I want to say maybe it was 3 years ago. She had ported to this area. She was living in a woman's shelter. She was a victim of domestic violence. And the first thing she said to me, clearly, the priority initially was housing, but she made it clear, I'm going to go to work. I'm a worker. And she definitely stood by her work ethics. She held a position for Dunkin' Donuts for quite some time, was promoted to a supervisor in that role. Then during the COVID, she did leave that position. And in the meantime, I'm like, well, honey, do you have any immediate needs? Are you going to apply for public assistance? And I'm not joking. Her words were, no, I'm going to find another job. There's no question about it. So I'm happy to report that she has a job that she really is thrilled about with ARC. Her current income made her ineligible for any further assistance through our housing program. But the good news was there's always that silver lining. The FSS contract with most participants, as some of you may already know, is 5 to 7 years. So you take this young lady who had strong goals, very motivated, and she was awarded, I don't have the exact figure, but it was close to $3,000 that had been saved in her FSS account just in a matter of 3 years. So that was her silver lining. I said, well, here's the good news. As you move out of the program, I could graduate for this, the success that you had well on this particular program. So I always like to share a good story. So anyhow, she will be joining us. She's elated. She's like, want me to be on a committee? I said, yes, I do, because I think it's important to have participants on this committee that could speak to the experience, firsthand. So anyhow, she will be joining us eventually. So we look forward to that. And I also want to just welcome, I did reach out just to kind of take a look at the people that are already, willing to participate on this committee, and I wanted to kind of see where maybe there were some loopholes. So we do have some new members. Welcome, Amanda. Thank you for joining us. Again, happy that you're here with us. All of you received the agenda, is that correct? Okay, good. So we're just going to move along, and then I'm going to let you ladies speak. I like to give you, I know we're kind of behind, but the 2020 just averages where we were at. Fortunately, I have been successful in maintaining the numbers of participants, volunteer participants on the program. The average has been sustained at 49. We always look to have somewhere between 45 and 50 or more. I'm thankful for many of the referrals that come to me in my office through the Family Unification Program. I'm not 100% sure you're all familiar with that, but that typically are individuals that have just fallen upon some hard times. Either they're already homeless or maybe living in a shelter or with family members that are in dire need of housing and more intensified outreach. Yeah, the children, right. It's typically a situation where if they do not secure adequate housing, the likelihood of the family staying together is jeopardized. So, but many of those young individuals, I don't want to be gender specific because it's not always a female, that come into being a recipient of Section 8, I try to give them as much information as possible about the possibility of joining the FSS program. Couple reasons for that. One is often they are not employed, so they need that assistance with maybe securing some type of employment, confidence to get back in the workforce, so on and so forth. And then the other piece is financially, money-wise, if someone comes into the program at zero income, as soon as they are secured employment, obviously their Section 8 rent is going to go up because their wages are up. It's all relevant. But then that'll, right off the bat, start their savings or FSS savings escrow account. So it's really in their best interest to consider joining the program. So I have quite a few recruits from there, which I'm very happy about. That does help sustain the number there. We had 3 graduates receive escrow, as you can see in the summary there. 2 had exited from the program, and that was just mainly due because they wanted to port their case to another jurisdiction. Right now, we still have the 33 individuals currently, but the average for the year was 28 that have a balance in that escrow account. We have 11 participants at one point, but that was the average on PA, but we only have 5 currently, which is really good. There's 20 families, individuals earning income. I just kind of updated this just today. So right now that looks a little different. The average is 12 and 12, but currently there's 9 individuals working part-time, 11 individuals working on a full-time basis. And then I just listed, I'm not going to read all those off, but just for your review, where the majority of the service needs, what they look like. And then I just noted that the majority of them currently are in this job search, job training programs, a lot of medical services, mental health, a lot of legal services. We make that referral a lot. I did kind of break down, I really stay on top of my clients and try to stay as current as possible with where their needs lie. It's been rather challenging through COVID. It's a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. I just call and just check on people. And honestly, they're very, very appreciative of their phone call, I'm finding. But we have currently, interesting enough, I just thought this information might just be helpful somewhere, I don't know. But I was telling Chrissy this morning that out of the 11 individuals, or there's 13 individual, 11, I was right. No. There's 13 individuals that are unemployed right now. Or 13 that are collecting unemployment of the total number of individuals that are currently unemployed. So what that says is really through the course of this crazy year, a lot of my participants have been either left their job for some reason or another. A couple of them had new babies, and then they're faced with the barrier of securing childcare, especially for infants. A lot of them, there was 3 individuals that were in food service that are no longer working. 3 of those that are unemployed now, that are receiving unemployment, worked for our CIL. And then we had 2, one that worked right for the district, and the other was Bernie Bus, worked for Bernie Bus. So they're varied, 3 in retail. But that just kind of speaks to where we are today, I think, everywhere. That's a lot of people collecting unemployment. So where I am struggling with personally, trying to help people, like, okay, let's get motivated. Like, but I think that they're just in this mindset, they're settled in, they're worried about still yet the safety of their children. You know, they're in school, they're not in school. I think that that's probably one of the main barriers in what I've witnessed thus far. So I'm going to stop talking. There is just another bullet on what the COVID relief looked like in our office. I don't know if Chrissy wants to speak more to this, but we continually see extensions on just like everything else on what we could do. So right now, if with motivation, with someone that is working towards something, whether it's continuing their education, continuing to really seek employment, whatever. If I have a client that's really has a good reason to stay on board, I'm able to extend their FSS contract almost another full year. We are able to extend a contract that typically is 5 years to 7 years max. But there has to be a good reason to do that.
COVID.
Yeah. So I don't know, did you ladies want to say anything?
I just wanted to let you guys know some updates from the Section 8 sector and what we're doing. We do realize there's going to be a huge need for homelessness prevention and things in our community as the moratorium comes up, which was just extended again, we've seen. We do want to support our landlords out there. We're staying up with participants to make sure they're paying their share of the rent. And in the same breath, we want to support our landlords to make sure they're getting their payments. But we also, need to support those that are on the program and that we're serving. So that's going to be a big focus, the homelessness prevention and things. We also realize that the rental prices have been increasing in the city. We know it's getting more challenging for some of our participants to lease up and find units in the sizes they need. So this morning, actually, Chris and she actually shared with me how to increase the payment standards. So we will, starting July 1st, increase our rental payment standards on units. And it's a 10% increase. So that will give people in the city more flexibility on what type of rent shares we will be paying their expenses for. So, those are some of our updates here, and we are moving in that direction. We do want to provide our community support right now. So if you know of any participants or anybody that may be interested in Section 8, getting applications out, we still have an open waiting list. So don't hesitate to refer to us. And that's all I got for updates. So
You still,
go ahead. Oh, I think you might have hit mute. Maybe you need to unmute yourself. Or do we?
There we go.
Okay.
There- You still have openings in the Section 8 application process then?
Well, we have a waiting list, and right now, actually, the waiting list is moving much quicker than before. So that's a good thing. So it used to be a 5-year waiting list. I would say, what did you say, 3-year maybe?
3 to 2 by the end of this year, probably.
We also
Really?
have some new vouchers coming out, emergency housing vouchers. So we can get some vouchers for emergency services, but those referrals will have to come from a COC. So we're pairing with Steve to do that. And that's really new to us too. We just found out yesterday. So hopefully that will make our waiting list move along even faster. So I mean, we're not that immediate rental assistance. If people are facing financial hardship and need that immediate rental assistance, we are still referring to programs like homeownership, and they have to show proof of the hardship. And, you know, we're more of that long-term relief. So,
Right.
but like I said, the waiting list is moving fast, so that's good news for us right now.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Did we want to start like at the top and maybe just giving us some updates on what's going on in your areas? Whoever wants to take the floor, go for it.
That me? Am I on top?
Yep, there you go, Jody.
Okay. So I'm Jody Singleton from ICANN. I run Project Home, which is a 12-month rental assistance rapid rehousing program for transitional age youth. So I currently have 20 head of households on my caseload. I know there's a few more waiting to get on, so I'm definitely busy. Housing is pretty much the same. I am housing people relatively like within a month, which I don't think is terrible given our issues. We you know, I'm finding the apartments, they're not great. We don't have a lot to choose from, so it's more like, oh, we have an apartment available, let's get you right in. I mean, we're doing what we can with what we can, I guess.
Thank you.
So
Amanda?
Amanda, do you want to say anything? And Margaret? Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with ICANN as well. I'm in a slightly different area than Jody is. We are in the we work in outreach of care management for care management people, and oftentimes they come right to us homeless. They're sleeping in cars. They're sleeping in sheds. They're on the streets. Sometimes at halfway houses. But we are having a great deal of difficulty. And like you said, apartments that have more than 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, you know, we're finding these things for them has been proving to be quite the effort. And the places that are available are usually not willing to take Section 8 or PA or anything else. So we are having a crisis in really trying to find housing for these homeless people. And we seem to, and I don't have statistics, but it does seem to be at a larger number than what it has been in the past.
And Margaret, I just want to speak to that. And with ending the Section 8 stigma and things in education to come, you know, with the pandemic, it's been really hard hosting anything or doing anything in group settings. But, you know, following the pandemic, hopefully, as things move along, we are hoping to do more landlord engagement. I just decided to join a landlord focus group that's coming up, and we are hoping that, you know, we could end that stigma. It's securing landlords getting the half payment that we're sending them, at least their share of the rent from us, you know, is a given. So we're really hoping moving forward that we can do more landlord engagement and more landlord support, but a part of that is education, and education on how these programs actually benefit them. So that is a big future goal once things kind of get lifted and we could gather again.
I do also want to speak to that a little bit. This is Melanie from Legal Services. It's actually illegal for a landlord to discriminate based on lawful income. So they can't just refuse to accept Section 8 or any of these other programs. I still haven't quite sorted out what unlawful income would be, but that's a whole other problem. But those are obviously lawful sources of income. So technically that is illegal. What I was seeing a bunch of is people trying to run credit checks, which is legal. And that's the way they're discouraging people. But some landlords are getting more savvy and knowing that, they don't want to risk being sued by someone for refusing to accept like a voucher or something like that. That law changed back in 2019. I will say people seem to have forgotten about the law change in 2019 because of COVID. It's been 2 years. I was hoping people would have caught on, but I really believe that because of COVID, everyone forgot about 2019.
We're seeing a lot of that on Craigslist. Like, don't bother if you're in a program.
Yeah. I mean, it's what's tough for the tenant is like, does the tenant want to fight to even get into the apartment? Is that like a good situation? So like, I understand why. I'm not like, what are you doing? But like, that is technically illegal.
It's interesting that you said that, Melanie, because whenever I lease some new admissions for the Section 8, one of the things that I make sure while I'm doing that briefing with that individual is to speak to the relationship, the details. We don't manage or own the properties. I don't say to them, but we say in our office, we're the bank here, okay? But I always stress to them, I encourage them to ask the landlord, is there another lease in which that I should, their lease? When do you want the rent? How do you want to receive the rent? We talked about that, Melanie, when you did the training with us. We can't fix or the rapport that you have with the landlord. So I couldn't agree with you more. Why would you want to go into a relationship, a working relationship of that nature with someone that doesn't want you?
Well, and I mean, the problem really is there's a housing scarcity. So, I'm looking at it the other way. Like, we have to try and figure out how we can force these landlords to follow the law. To me, I'm a lawyer, so I'm like, well, the answer is litigation, but like, I understand how that's not really a great situation for the tenant. So I'm trying to figure out, I guess, how to balance those two things.
And Melanie, I just want to say with what we're doing a lot of is I know we refer to you quite a bit in legal services. And I would say though, just so you guys know out there, there's another resource, Empowered Pathways Peacemaker Program. We are referring to landlord-tenant mediation in circumstances. Apparently, the courts are kicking landlord-tenant disputes into mediation anyways. So, we're giving them directly to the source because that's where the judge is going to send them anyway. So, that is maybe a good resource for all of you out there, ICANN, RCIL, that may not already be aware, but if you could refer to Empowered Pathways and they have landlord-tenant mediation, that could be a binding contract once they go to court. They may even be able to settle their dispute out of court. The hard part is getting both parties that are willing to do so. Both the landlord and tenant have to enter the binding agreement, and that's what makes it work. But, with the crisis of housing and everything that we have right now, maybe we'll see people more motivated to do that in the future, and that's my hope. And maybe that will relieve some stress from you, Melanie, and your services, because that's where the courts are sending them anyway. So
I always have concerns because there's always a power imbalance between the landlord and the tenant.
Yeah.
I'm always really worried about that. Just kind of anecdotally, I can tell you, I'm seeing what I call a lot of bad acting landlords. I've seen people turn off the water, turn off the power, turn off the electricity, kind of you name it, we've seen it recently. I'm particularly outraged by turning off the water during a pandemic. That seems like particularly insane. But
can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm from Empowered Pathways, so I just wanted to weigh in that I just wanted to say that we have been seeing an increase in landlord tenant. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm like, I just want to identify that I am here. we are seeing an uptick in landlord-tenant mediations, and we are expecting more as the stay on evictions ends in August. So we're starting to gear up with that and reaching out to community groups and looking to that. And Melanie, you raised definitely a legitimate issue about the power imbalance, and that is something that we really are aware of and try to stay on top of. So.
I just wanted to input, because we got to stay neutral. I've seen a lot of our clients who income was not impacted by COVID. They're still getting the same amount of money. They still got all the extra money that the government has sent to them, and because they didn't pay rent at all for the last 15 months to the landlord. So that is going to be a hard in the future for us to say if the landlord goes to court, if the tenant landlord can't work out any kind of repayment agreement, and if the tenant doesn't pay the landlord back, I don't know how the court's going to, but if it's a court order eviction for non-payment of rent, these tenants are going to lose their Section 8. So it's really, and if they can't show proof that there was a hardship because of COVID, I just see a little bit of a mess coming up in the next few months when this is over with. And I'm not saying, who's bad, power struggle. I think the tenants kind of put a little bit of muscle saying, oh, the governor said we didn't have to pay rent because it's COVID.
Can I just say something? Can you hear me? I just want to say it's the governor's fault. He did not provide clear guidance when he released this. And so now here we are trying to educate the public after the fact, because when this information was released, it wasn't released effectively. And so here we are. And so, and when you look at the housing, I see a lot of individuals who are tenants who are just acting, just as what Melanie was saying, asking for consideration. That a lot of people who are renters are trapped. They are siloed into these impoverished situations and in these silos. And again, like Melanie said, there's no accountability from the landlords. They don't have, they're charging more than people pay for mortgage a month on rental property. And so whatever additional income that they could have to put towards their future, they can't. And so we have to create programs that say we'll help you through this connection have additional funding. And that just doesn't make sense to me. Why they should have to be in those situations. There should be a set guidance for each location. What is the property value? How much is appropriate rent? And, all of these things really right down to the grassroots of it needs to happen, because that release was the problem.
Yeah, unfortunately, the city does not have rent control. So a landlord can charge whatever, they seem, and most of it is market rent. I do see the rents go up as a whole, and that's not just the individual private landlords. Those are a lot of the bigger properties that we have that have the higher rents, and then it causes that the other landlords, well, if they're getting this much for that, then I can get this much for this. But again, we're seeing as Utica has a lot of mom and pop landlords, like they own one property, two family, and they have a tenant who's either on public assistance or SSI or something like that. And these clients did not pay rent at all for these past 15 months, but their income was not lowered or lessened because of COVID. So now the government is saying, well, you got to tell the tenants that we gave the 600, the 1400, the 300, and that should be used to pay whatever the rent or whatever they need at this point. So again, it's a fine line between these rents haven't been raised.
One of the things that has happened is that in regards to even like a tenant not paying their rent, a lot of it has to do with the fact that these are landlords. They're kind of like an employer, right? There's funding for them. And so some landlords are just saying, well, I don't want to deal with the headache. This isn't my problem. You can't pay rent. I'm not going to look for, the funding. And what we're seeing is they're even double dipping. There's not enough accountability even for landlords. So a landlord could get reimbursed for back rent for a tenant and then still evict that person.
Well, for the government to reimburse them, that it hasn't, I know there's something in place for that, but the tenant has to agree to fill out something and online, and I don't know if it's out there yet. I think it's.
I can speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, they're just trying to get by, and these landlords are professionals. This is their job, right?
Not all landlords are professionals. Some of these are mom and pop landlords that, are really struggling with their mortgages because they, had half the rent coming in or quarter the rent or whatever they have to help them with that. And a lot of these landlords, their income has been impacted by COVID. And I'm just talking about the tenants that income was not impacted by COVID. So again, we're at a fine line between the two.
Yeah. Just as an advocate, because I will say that a lot of the situations that I'm seeing is that we are, like I said, legal services are bombarded right now with inquiries. So we have to come as a supplemental legal advisor almost because of this mess, and so I do see where the tenants are coming from because, they're basically being bamboozled. That's what it feels like when, they're basically being told, we're cutting you a break. We understand the situation, etc. So we're going to provide service to these landlords because they are basically, professionals. They're receiving income from this property. This is income property. And so they just didn't want to deal with the burden, and they put the burden on the tenants, and the tenants who are just trying to get by, trying to figure out how to stay afloat in their non-business, in their life, in their home.
And I do think that is, that is in some cases that way, but I'm just saying it's not in all cases.
I agree. I've seen some people who have had a problem with it that certainly weren't struggling financially and really felt like they wanted it. This is so mind-boggling to me.
So as Section 8, we're going to try to, we're trying to advocate and stay in a neutral place to make sure, one, that, we're not losing landlords and they're willing to rent to our Section 8 tenants in the future, and two, that our tenants are not homeless and they have a good place to live. So, that would be our goal. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure, that we keep the landlords interested in our program and that we keep the tenants from being homeless. So
yeah, and I think part of it is just the organization. So you're going to be a Section 8 landlord. Make sure that they're provided the guidance and the structure and everything is clear for them, so that going into this, they know they're already taking a risk, but they feel like they're being supported. And so, and understanding where maybe, just an understanding how poverty and how they charge and, just the whole cycle of poverty in the situation, just being able to be a better advocate for the rights of those tenants. Because I do think that a lot of people who could afford to have gone without those rents were making a big stink for nothing because there was funding.
Do you want to say something, Melanie?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of things. I want to talk about the rental assistance that is going to be coming out. That program, from everything I've read about it so far, is a little bit more broad than what's been available in the past. There are rules around requiring less paperwork and being a little bit more flexible about what counts. I'm hoping to hear an announcement. Everyone kept on saying mid-May. It is mid-May, so I'm kind of hoping, end of May, early June. I will say the eviction moratorium, if someone has filled out the COVID hardship form, and just to be clear, I'm talking about the New York one, not the CDC one. I can get into that if anyone really wants to hear about it, but essentially I'm talking about the New York one. That should take tenants through August 31st. I'm optimistic that the program will be up and running and money will be out by then. So we're hoping to avoid a lot of the evictions to kind of, tenant had a hard time paying, couldn't pay, get the money to the landlord, hopefully the problem will be resolved. There are a lot of rules about if a landlord doesn't want to accept the money, the tenant is still eligible. I don't know if anyone wants me to really super get into this right now, or, I don't want to take up the whole meeting, but there are a lot of ways that I think are really helpful to tenants to getting them the rental assistance that they need because of this program. I also want to say COVID hardship still in place. If a tenant hasn't filled it out and a landlord is trying to evict them, they can still fill it out. If someone needs the form, email me and I will get you the form, but it is also on the Unified Court System website. And if a landlord is filing, they are supposed to send it to the tenant before they're able to actually file. If someone applies for one of these rental assistance programs, they can't be evicted until a determination about their eligibility is made. That shouldn't be a problem in theory because of the COVID form, but COVID moratorium at this point, but I do also want to put that out there. I also want to highlight, I talk about housing a lot because that's what we do a lot, because that's kind of the area need, what the area needs. But I do want to talk a little bit about my agency. We cover 13 counties. We have 7 offices throughout those counties. We help low-income people with civil legal issues. So anyone who is 200% or the poverty level or below can give us a call. We won't do any criminal work. So I feel like the place you see me most often is dealing with evictions and housing. But we also do unemployment work. We do public benefits. We file discrimination cases with the Division of Human Rights. If you see us in the news, people in Syracuse just filed a case against a particularly notorious landlord out there. We'll do some jail litigation. We do a little bit of everything. One of the things that I like to really focus on is community education. So if you have a group of people, either people you work with, staff members, or clients you work with, let me know, and I'm happy to talk about a topic there. Once we have more information about the rental assistance programs, I'm sure you'll be hearing more from me about how to apply and things like that. That we don't have that piece yet, but it's coming. Does everyone have my phone number? I feel like everyone has my phone number, but if you're looking for me directly,
Let's give it.
Yeah, I'll absolutely. If you're looking for me directly, it's 315-793-7096. And if you miss me because I'm in a meeting like this, just leave me a message. That is my direct number. If you have a client who's looking to have an intake done and they want to call us directly out of the Utica office, that number is 315-793-7108. You will get Barb. Barbara's our intake person. If someone wants, they can go to our website, legalservicesessentialnewyork.org. There is a Get Help button in the top right corner. So someone can also start the process online if that's easier for them, if they want to call it not business hours, basically.
And I just want to say, just so everybody's aware, so when somebody has income changes and is a participant of Section 8, they could notify us of those income changes and the financial hardship. And we do adjust, so we actually end up paying more of their monthly rent. So, that is something too, that if you're out there and if you have people that you're working with that are also Section 8 participants, sometimes they don't tell us till 2, 3, 4 months after, they've had a financial hardship, and then we're adjusting and doing an interim to actually pay more of the rent. So, just keeping that education up and out there, and we let our participants know that, but still, they may be in a hardship, they may not be telling anybody, and then we find out 2 to 3 months later. So if you're working with anybody, just remind them of that. We will do adjustments.
Especially any of ours that come to you, Melanie. Just if anything, first thing you should do, anything change in your income, let me check, call Section 8, and we will do the adjustment. We'll go back to when their income went down to adjust their rents. Also, we don't take the extra unemployment that's excluded. So we're just going on their basic unemployment they would get. So that's not even counted. Plus what the federal government gave out, the 600, 314 or 1200, that is not counted either as income towards the housing Section 8. It's excluded. And I think the same thing with other programs, those will not be counted. So
yes, just anecdotally, what I'm seeing is people, well, most often, you see a little bit of everything, but most often what I'm seeing, it's private landlord tenant. I'm seeing a lot of conditions in the illegal self-help cases. And then I'm seeing a lot of people who just lost their jobs. They worked in food service, they worked for a school, they worked in these jobs that have been really hit by COVID. That's like most often what I'm seeing. I will obviously say that it is anecdotal. But it's easier with Section 8 or in subsidized housing because the rent is based on the income. So if your income went down, I'm like, great, tell them. And that should, in theory, solve the problem.
Yeah, because we will do the adjustment if they let us know, and we've done that the last 15 months. We would do that anyway, normally, but I'm just saying,
Absolutely.
so.
Mhm. Yeah. No, for me, that's the easy one to solve. I'm like, oh, good, it's Section 8. Just tell them. That'll make it go away. Great.
Yeah.
Margaret, I
I
have
just
a
want to say
question for you.
I just want to say I have money. If anybody needs money for anybody, that is either somebody who has a disability or aging. And when I say disability, I categorize disability as anybody who's asking for help. You're asking for help. Let's help you. So what I would like to just suggest, if you know anybody, and I would say if it's food, hygiene, supplies. We just recently, I had a call today. Somebody had replaced a bed. Somebody had moved into a new apartment and needed a new bed. So this is what we're calling it is ADRC funding. And so my name is Shelley, and
ADRC.
I can be reached at 315-982-8621. That's my cell, my personal cell. But if you know, from any of you, if you have them.
Sorry, Michelle, what does the acronym stand for?
Aging and Disability Resource Center. So I am the New York Connect representative for the CNY region. And so what that means is we provide information, assistance, and education regarding long-term services and supports and the community as a whole, collectively getting connected to and utilizing the systems in which are meant to serve the community, the public as a whole, and just making sure that also, like at this particular juncture, we're seeing people, you know, whether it be that families are home and they need arts and crafts supplies because, you know, their children are not being occupied and it's affecting everybody else's quality of life. You know, that would be appropriate. We're working on mental wellness bags. We're going to also do a giveaway with that. So really, if you have any suggestions of what you are seeing in the community as a need, or if you are working with or familiar with anybody that they could use a donation, please feel free to direct them this way.
Do you have a flyer about that program?
Pardon me?
Do you have a flyer about that program? Because I can think of lots of things.
Yes,
but
I will send that. And I actually made a homeless PowerPoint for community education in a handout, which I will also forward. And you guys, if you could circulate it, that would be great.
Thank you.
Can you send that to the group, Shelley? Are you going to send that to the entire group? Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Good.
Margaret, I was just going to quickly ask you, because I know I tried to connect one of my clients for mental health reasons to ICANN. Now, did she need a referral? I don't really, she didn't, how does it work?
I'll be glad to send you that package. You know, it is definitely has to be done through a referral system. The referral system has to be viewed by CNY Health Home. We get that referral back, and then we can start outreaching that client. Now, I have set it up so that people can call me directly, and I can fill out that referral right then and there for them so that it just simplifies the whole situation. And I can send it in, and we can take care of them right over the phone. And
So I think that's where the breakdown is.
What's the
so
timing?
if you've got a name and a phone number of someone who's interested, shoot it to me, and I will call them and follow up with it.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Margaret. That's helpful. And Stephanie,
Yes.
I have a question for you. With your referral process for the landlord-tenant mediation, you know, would you prefer us to actually make those referrals, or would you actually, in Empowered Pathways, we can just send them over to you and then you do that referral process?
So usually we get the referrals from the parties. Are you acting as the landlord, or?
No, but if we identify somebody that may need that mediation services, we are sending them over to Empowered Pathways.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're just giving them our information, yeah, they can contact us. And both, as you said before, both parties do have to agree. So a lot of times that's the hurdle, is that one party may not want to go to mediation. So, but yeah,
And then when
so.
the judge comes to, they come to you anyway, so.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, they still have to agree. I mean, the judge can send them to us, but, mediation, the primary thing is that it's voluntary. So
Yeah.
even if the courts send them to us, they still have to agree. And if they don't, then it just goes back to the court. So.
Thank you.
Hi, Rich.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for joining us. Maybe you could introduce yourself, and I also had a question for you in relevance to the same thing that I had asked Margaret, because I believe it might have even been the same client that was really struggling with some, health issues, both, I think, physically, a real physical state of depression, and something was going on. I'm not a doctor, but just in numerous phone calls with her. And I think that's when I reached out, because of the services in the upstate at your health center. Could you speak to those more, when someone's maybe down and out and doesn't have the insurance coverage in place?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Rich Williams. I'm the Director of Nursing Services here at Upstate Family Health Center. So we're a health center. We have offices in both Utica and Rome. And we are a primary care office. We see patients from newborns right up to the geriatric population. And we see folks, regardless of their ability to pay. We are a federally qualified health center. We're what they call a patient-centered medical home, and we provide all levels of service for patients that come into our door. Um, and I'm not familiar with the specific person that you're speaking about, but I can tell you that we do have social work counseling available. Should somebody come in, in a depressed state, we can get them in usually within that same week. If it's something that's a crisis, oftentimes that same day, where we can get them in for some type of counseling. And our doctors and nurse practitioners are phenomenal as far as seeing people if they come in crisis, and getting them seen. We have ability to provide some assistance for food insecurity. We have a small pantry here that we do, we do give to folks. We've been known to buy lunch for people if they come in, they haven't eaten. And we're in the process still of building relationships within the community for folks that have substance abuse issues or other issues. We do partner with CNY Health Homes as well as Chubbs. So, and again, if there's things that somebody needs that we can't get for them physically at the health center, it's literally a phone call or a text message, and then we can get in contact with someone at one of those two other agencies.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Yep.
Excellent.
And Amanda, where are you coming in from? I think you're a new face to me, so where are you?
Hi, I am with Empowered Pathways. I work for the work program, the Women's Employment Resource Center. So I work to get women jobs, basically. I do the intake and working on the trainings with Stephanie right now. I took over for Kathy Peters. You probably know her previously. I know you guys work with her a lot. Right now, we just finished up a training. We were doing Project Pivot. It was a virtual training. And we just taught the women, how to use Google, how to use Docs, Excel, job interviewing, just how to navigate the computer, how to do resumes, job coaching, mock interviews, stuff like that. We are doing another training, me and Stephanie, on May 25th, 9 to noon. So if you know anyone interested, they just would have to call me for an intake. I can give you my information. It is also on the flyer. I can send to you if you're interested. And we're doing another Project Pivot, which is the exact same thing we just did in June. And they're 3 days a week, 3 hours. and they get certificates at the end. I help them with the resumes. And if they need extra help, I am always willing to help. I know a lot of the women sometimes are shy in groups, so I have no problem, helping them a little extra. Sometimes they're a little scared to admit they don't know what they're doing, so it's perfectly fine. I'll work with them. And sometimes they don't have computers or cameras. We also can accommodate for that. We do have a computer lab as long as we can socially distance safely, or we are allowed to work something out with cameras. So if you need more information, please let me know. I can give you my email, my phone number. I'm in the office. Our number is online, and you'll get me somehow or way, because I answer the phones all the time. So you'll get me if you just call.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, is that okay? Project Pivot stands for Providing Interactive Virtual Office Training. And so that really focuses on a lot of the online and virtual stuff that is challenging. I mean, it was challenging for all of us when this happened over a year ago. And so we knew it was going to be challenging for women that are trying to re-enter the workforce, or some that lost their jobs and that we had worked with before and were successfully employed, and then came back and said, I lost my job because of COVID. So we designed this specifically to help people, to help women navigate the virtual world. And so, as Amanda said, some of the barriers that we encountered was they had a computer, but they didn't have a camera, or they didn't have a computer at all. So those were things that we had to problem solve. We purchased extra webcams. We have some loaner laptops. And if worse comes to worse, we figure out a way to get them into our computer lab, socially distanced, so they can use the computers here. So the training cup on May 25th is job interviewing. It's just a one morning, 3-hour intensive training, and it really helps with Zoom interviewing, because that's kind of a new thing for a lot of people, and it can be difficult, figuring out the nuances of that. So Amanda's great. She just started with us. She's got tons of energy, and the women really love her. So
I have a question, Amanda. Amanda, so I have a client of mine that she's a new admission, so she could maybe do a one-on-one with you. Like, she literally doesn't even know how to set up an email.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. She would just have to do an intake with me, and I could just do it over the phone. It would take between a half hour and an hour, depends, how long we talk, but I can just do it right over the phone with her. I would just need some information, and then I could set up a one-on-one. I have PowerPoints. I can screen share with her. I can send her my Zoom link, and I've done it a few times. But yeah, if you just want to give me her information, or you can give her mine, and she can reach out on her own discretion, it's perfectly fine.
Okay. Yeah, she hasn't even secured housing just yet. She came from that referral, but she, again, a lot of those clients have more need for more intensified outreach, and I think that you couldn't have said it better. That some women just are not comfortable in a group setting, and she came right to my mind. I can see where some trust issues would not work for her. Okay, thank you.
And I just want to say, before we're approaching the end of the hour, I just want to thank these ladies next to me for all they're doing, and all of you guys out there. You're working with some of the most vulnerable populations. We know it's been a hell of a year for everybody, and I'm telling you, you just got to keep on going. Self-care is so important. You can't pour from an empty cup, and we're so grateful for the work you're doing out there for the city of Utica as well. We know we couldn't do it without collaborating with groups like yours. So, I really am appreciative. I'm happy that you're welcoming me in, and I'm happy to collaborate with all of you. So thank you for having me. And for Jerry organizing.
Oh, Deidre, will you send me that? Oh, you're going to send it to me right now.
Okay.
Oh, good to see that. Does everybody see that? Yeah. Deidre?
Can everybody see on the Academic First Classroom Supply Drive on their screens, or is it just us that's able to see what just popped up?
I can see it.
I can see it.
Okay. Well,
Ms. Deidre.
if there's nothing else, we look forward and thank Jerry for hosting this meeting.
Oh,
She put
thank you
everything
for being-
together.
Please forward me. I really appreciate, like, Amanda, thank you so much. I've already have a mailing list. I did some mailing this morning. Thank you, Deidre, for sharing this because, like I said, childcare has been an obstacle for many. Thank you, everyone that attended. I feel like we just received a wealth of information, and
Absolutely.
we appreciate your participation in this committee. Thank
It's
you.
awesome work. You're appreciated.
Does a Tuesday and this time of day work well for folks?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Because we'll probably schedule the next meeting 2-3 months out. Not sure how that's going to look. Maybe we can meet in person. One never knows. If not, then we appreciate you zooming in with us, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so much.